Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. Today we're going to talk about a question that I think has always been in the back of my mind when we've talked about cryptids. It's the idea, is a cryptid like Bigfoot or Dogman or Mothman intrinsically good or evil? Let's talk about it and let's get weird. One theory that often gets thrown out there, and I guess I sort of agree with this one, especially as it applies to a more human-like cryptid, like Bigfoot. Because a lot of people believe that Bigfoot is derived from humans, or we're derived from Bigfoot, or, you know, we're relatives in some way. They always throw out there that there are good people and bad people. There are angry people and sad people and tired people and happy people. And why wouldn't you have the same range on Bigfoot, or any other cryptid for that matter? I guess to take it one by one, if we were to start with Bigfoot, I would say that I accept that as a pretty good possibility.
Yeah, I mean, Bigfoot, it seems like Bigfoot has a similar reaction to things, like as us. The reason why people see hostility from him seems like the humans are in their territory, which is why, you know, in some cases there might be a rock thrown at them.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they're just being straight up hostile, but in reality, you're just kind of in his territory being rude yourself.
True.
So kind of sometimes with Bigfoot, you have to think about, are you in the wrong? Instead of Bigfoot himself.
That kind of plays into the other feeling that I've always had about Bigfoot, which is, you know, I always see him as this gentle giant guardian of the forest.
Right.
And that more often than not, he's just minding his own business until he comes across a person. And then if the person backs off when Bigfoot makes his grunting noises or howls or throws a rock or whatever, Bigfoot's going to continue to go about his business. But where the problem comes in is where there's a human with a gun who takes a shot at Bigfoot or something like that. That's when you hear these horrific stories about the things that Bigfoot can do to people.
Right.
Yeah, and like him throwing rocks or doing like wood knocks, those could be like his way of saying like, get out of here.
Right. And we all might just be too stupid to realize that he's telling us to get out. Yeah, those are some of the reasons why we think, I guess, Bigfoot is more good than bad, or at least that he's like a human and, you know, tends to be good unless he's provoked. But there are lots of people who feel like Bigfoot is bad. I mean, we watched that show called Bigfoot is Real, and the hunters on that show were trying to kill Bigfoot. And the reason they were trying to kill him is because they said he's scaring people out of their homes and he's killing pets and killing livestock. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of kill because they also think that having a body is proof. Mm-hmm. We kind of said in another podcast that that's not necessarily true, because if you put this on the internet anywhere really, nobody's gonna really believe it that much. They're gonna think it's AI made, generated. It's not really gonna be that useful today.
Right. Yeah, and if you have a body and you turn it into the government, if you believe the government is part of a conspiracy, it's going to disappear, or they're going to say it was a duck or something anyway, so what's the point?
It's like what the Mountain Monsters people do too. They make like all those big giant traps to try and catch Bigfoot.
Yeah.
In this case, it's just guns and firing at them non-stop.
Yeah, but in addition to the idea of wanting, you know, one that they can show a dead Bigfoot to bring to show science, whoever science is, you know, in the big sense that Bigfoot really exists, they also say that they're protecting the residents of whatever town they're in, you know, because Bigfoot was knocking on the side of somebody's house and they couldn't sleep and they were terrified, or you know, their dog went missing and they blame Bigfoot for it. I don't know. Do you think there's any truth to any of those stories? And if they are true, do you think it's still Bigfoot just trying to scare people off, or do you think he's a legitimate danger to these people?
I think he's just trying to scare people off, mainly. Yeah. I don't hear any like reports of him like attacking cars.
No.
For example.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of assume they're going to be attacked by Bigfoot because they hear the grunting and they see the rocks falling and they hear something shadowing them through the trees, and they all get back and they say, I barely escaped with my life. And I'm thinking to myself, if an 8-foot tall, super strong primate wants you dead, you'd have been dead.
Yeah, he wouldn't have stopped for a minute to just stare at you. He would have just ran at you and tore your entire body in half.
Right. It sounds like we're all in agreement that on the whole, Bigfoot is good unless you do something stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, you had mentioned Bigfoot not attacking cars. That leads very well into our next cryptid, which is Dogman, who does have a history of attacking cars. But let's start with good. Let's see if there are any reasons we can think of why one might think Dogman is good.
Well, here's the first thing that came into my mind. There have been reports of Dogman families. Mm-hmm. So there's a small possibility that maybe Dogman is just trying to find food for whatever family it has to provide for. I don't know. We don't know how it really works for Dogman at all, but that's still a possibility.
What I think is, we often see him around like cemeteries, just generally, other like burial grounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he may be like protecting those dead bodies, those spirits. In that case, it could be good, especially if he's protecting good ones.
Yeah, I think there are some Native American myths that tie into that very strongly, and they do kind of name a Dogman-like creature, whether it's Dogman or a skinwalker or something along those lines, as a protector, either of the tribe or of the spirits or of the burial grounds. I think you could make that argument certainly for the ones that are spotted around cemeteries. I would also, kind of to piggyback on what you said about him trying to provide for his family, there's a part of me that thinks that Dogman isn't so much a cryptid as a wild animal. And even though, he walks on 2 legs like a human, and there are some people who believe he might morph into a human, or he might emerge from a portal in the mist or something like that, if we were to look at him as just an animal, it's rare that you talk about an animal as being evil or good, other than, maybe a good dog or something. But when you see a wolf in the wild, and he's tearing up a pig or a deer or something like that, you're not saying, oh, that wolf is evil. You're saying that wolf is being a wolf.
Yeah, that's the food chain.
Right.
As you're saying, wolf or Dogman could be just being a part of the food chain. It could be more natural than we really think. It could be either a government generated or not, but it might be related to the food chain.
Right. Now, there are reasons why people believe he's bad, and they are quite numerous. There have been people who claim to have been attacked by Dogman. He has been accused of tearing at people's cars, leaving scratch marks on the cars, trying to get at people inside, stealing deer carcasses out of the back of trucks, which again would be a wolf being a wolf, but we've had him killing hunting dogs, attempting to kill people while hunting, and we've had all these other legends that he's tied to, whether it's the Skinwalker legend or the werewolf or the Rougarou or whatever, and all these legends seem to have an evil connotation to them, like there's an evil curse on them.
He's often related to the hellhound, which a hellhound is sometimes known for being very hostile, but once more, it just seems like there has to be a reason behind these random attacks. Whether you're in a territory for some reason, I don't know how.
Well, if you go deep enough down this YouTube rabbit hole and watch some of the other podcasts on Dogman, and there are a number of them. I always like the Dogman stories from the confessionals. We follow a few others that are really good. One of them had a story about Dogman really being a demon, and I found that kind of an interesting claim, but it ties into your hellhound idea. It also ties into the portal idea. You know, maybe he's not coming from another dimension. Maybe he's coming from hell when he emerges in that cloud of mist. There were stories of humans being killed by Dogman. They came from an area, the most graphic story I heard came from an area called the Land Between the Lakes. In Kentucky and Tennessee, there was a family that disappeared, and they eventually found the bodies, and they had been torn up pretty badly. There were multiple Dogman sightings reported in that area before and since.
Wow.
So, again, was the family doing something to provoke him? Were they on some ancestral tribal land that he was trying to protect? Was he looking for food and just being an animal? I don't know. I think there are equal reasons on either side to believe that Dogman could be good or evil, and you know, maybe that just lends credence to the idea that he's an animal or a force of nature. And you know, a hurricane isn't good or evil. A tornado isn't good or evil. A wolf isn't good or evil.
Yeah, it's just natural.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about it.
Right. And then we come to probably the most polarizing cryptid of all in terms of trying to guess its motives, and that's Mothman. Mothman, when sighted, ever since the Silver Bridge incident in West Virginia, which I believe was the earliest recorded sighting of Mothman, he has been associated with disaster. And the debate has raged ever since that first disaster, the collapse of the Silver Bridge, as to whether he caused that disaster or if he was trying to warn us about that disaster. So I know there's not a ton of evidence out there, so I'm just going to ask for your opinions. What do you guys think?
Mothman is the exact middle point of what a cryptid, like good versus evil, is. Just, you know, you see him go through bridges like right before that big incident. There's so many possibilities that he could be either, you know, trying to help us, trying to tell us that there's something about to go wrong. It could be that he was the cause of it. There's just so many possibilities that we can't even really decide if he's good or bad.
Or he could even be a neutral observer. I mean, if you go with the Mothman alien theory or Mothman time traveler theory, maybe he just knows something horrific's going to happen at this point and he's coming back to get a better look.
Maybe.
Yeah. I sometimes like to think maybe he's warning against like aliens. If aliens are going to do something bad, maybe he's just there to say, hey, these aliens are about to do something.
That's interesting, especially since he's cited so often in conjunction with alien sightings.
Yeah.
There were a ton of UFO sightings before and after the Silver Bridge incident. There have been a ton of UFO sightings in the Elk Grove area and the O'Hare Airport area in Illinois, sometimes linked with the Mothman sightings in there. I think we said we were up to nearly 150 Mothman sightings in that area, and probably close to that many UFO sightings. And the most intriguing ones to me, even though some of them seemed a little out there, were the ones that saw Mothman and aliens together. You know, like they'd see a ship and then underneath it they'd see Mothman.
Mothman was fighting back against the aliens while the chaos was happening.
He's the only thing protecting us from them, apparently.
Perhaps.
What a legend.
Yeah. And all he asks in return is that we don't make crappy movies about him. But yeah, he's an enigma, and like I said, there's not really enough evidence to tell you whether he's causing these incidents or not. And you know, now there's also this kind of weird observer bias that we have, where every time a bridge collapses, somebody claims to have seen Mothman a week earlier. Yeah, I forgot to mention it, but I saw Mothman standing on that bridge last week, and this week it collapsed. It's that when we were doing our tour of Wisconsin and Minnesota earlier this year, it seemed like every town we came to had a bridge that had fallen at some point, and they blamed Mothman for it. In almost every case, Mothman, the sightings were reported after the bridge fell. But I guess Mothman's one of those we're not going to be able to give you a definitive answer on in terms of good or evil. We'll have to be on the lookout for him. And I know if I see him standing on a bridge, I'm not driving on that bridge, whether whether he's causing the accident or warning me that an accident's about to happen. Either way. That's our take on it. We would love to hear all of your opinions, as usual, as to whether you think these cryptids are good or evil or somewhere in between. And even if there are other cryptids you have a strong opinion about, like Loch Ness Monster or Goatman or the Enfield Horror or anything that comes to mind, by all means, drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. As always, thank you for listening and thank you for subscribing.